Hey guys, Julian here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make Djoko style house track from scratch. If you want to hear the finished track, the timestamp is at the top of the description. I'll give you a moment to do that now. And yeah, so as usual, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI and presets. Everything that I'm about to create in this video is available in the description. And if you're patient on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. And yeah, let's get going. So, right off the bat, I have a few things pulled up here. I wanted to start with a few things. I have a bass line and some chord stabs here. I'll play this for you in a moment. We're at 130 BPM. So, to start off with, usually with this style, this very like skippy, kind of hectic style of house, it tends to be a little bit more like upbeat and a little bit faster. So, 130 BPM, even though it seems really fast for house music, I think it works really well here. I'll play you, here's what I have so far. So you can see it's basically just the bass line, just like a simple kind of boomy sound like this. With this very like kind of upbeat pattern, very energetic. You can see the sound here is pretty simple. It's just made using operator. I've got 2 sine waves doing some FM, a little bit of saturation, EQ, cutting at 100, boosting, then lowering. And then I made some chord stabs on top of that. So we just have like this one up top. Just like a little sort of, you can see it's playing an A minor chord. That's the note that this is playing. It's just A and then C, so that's why I know we're in A minor. So we just have an A minor chord, and then I've added an A up here. Same deal with this over here. Then we have, like, for the sound, it's just a simple, just 2 sine waves, an operator, a little bit of FM, low pass filter, chorus, saturator. Then we got, like, this one. Pretty simple sound as well. You can see this is just, again, 2 sine waves, a little bit of low pass, some chorus, high pass. And then we have this last one, which is made using analog. And that just hits like right there. And this one is actually playing an A minor 9 chord. So you can see we've got A, and then we have a minor 3rd, we have the 5th, we have a minor 7th, and then we have a 9th up here. And that gives you that more like jazzy kind of smooth feel, because with a lot of Djoko's tracks, and really a lot of tracks in the style in general, you want to use like not just regular major and minor chords, but chords with like a little bit more flavor on top of them like this. Like this, you add the minor 7th, you add the 9th, and you get like this very kind of more smooth and sort of like chill feeling out of that. As you can hear, and it kind of makes this chord stand out a bit more too, because then we have these two, which are kind of more like percussion. And this is the one where it's like, this nice chord sort of sweeping up like that. And then for the sound on this one, it's just made using analog. You can see, pretty simple, just got a saw wave, detuned a bit, a little bit of a square wave in there as well, and then it's going into a low pass where the envelope is like kind of picking up like that. We get the amp envelope set like this, and then I've got a bit of vibrato, as well as a bit of unison on the sound. Then we just have some chorus, some reverb, a high-pass filter. You can see the reverb is really short here. Like, I have the size and the decay time down quite a bit, so it's just like a... like that. And yeah, so this sets like a nice little foundation to kind of build on. The main thing to take away here is, like, with the chord stabs, this may seem kind of busy right now when you're just hearing these with the bass line, but when we put this all together in the track, it's really going to sound, like, full and professional this way. Like, it's all about having kind of, like, simple but still very, like, simple but very energetic layers like this. And that's how you do it, by having 3 different things that may not be playing much on their own, but again, in the overall track, it's going to do a lot. And this is what's going to give us that kind of chill, like, feeling that we get in a lot of these style of house tracks. Now, something that I want to do here is I want to take all the 16th notes, like these, like everything that's like that, and just move them back a little bit. This is going to give it a little bit of swing, like that. And I'll play that with the metronome so you can hear. You get that burp, burp. Kind of, it's a little bit more swung now, and I think this is going to make this a little bit more groovy. And then we can also do this with all the 16th notes in the bass line. The key here is just not doing too much, like just doing enough to where it's noticeable and it sounds cool, but it's not like too swung. Perfect. Cool, and then we're gonna keep working with these sounds as we go on as well. Like, this isn't just stuck like this. I just wanted to have these kind of set up before the video started. But yeah, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna mute the chord stabs, and we're gonna start building up the drums. So I have some samples prepared. These are the samples that are available in the description when you get the project file and samples and MIDI and presets from this video. But yeah, I'm gonna take this kick here, and we're gonna just put this in, and we'll do, as you would imagine, just straight quarter notes with it. Cool, I like to check on my monitors. And see, because sometimes it can be a little bit tough to hear the low end properly on headphones. So if you check like with both, I feel like you're getting like a more like overall read on how everything sounds. But let's add some drum busts to this kick. Alright, sounds cool. And then we'll group the kick and bass together. Put a bit of saturation on the group. I've been learning to use just saturation lately on the group and not as much drum bus, because I think what you really need is like just a very nice and fat sounding kick and bass. It's like you really shouldn't be doing too much of making those fatter on the actual group processing. The group processing is just to kind of glue them together, so you really only need a little bit of saturation for that. Also, my voice is getting louder and quieter. I apologize. It's tough to gain stage inside of Ableton and with my voice at the same time. But cool, so that's sounding pretty good. Let's turn this down a bit. Alright, sounds good. So now we can start to build some drums over this. I'm going to take the process that I usually do, which is I'm going to start with the open hi-hat and just kind of like work my way up from there. Like, I try to sort of start with like the most simple, like most obvious layers. Like, there's always going to be a hi-hat, there's always going to be a clap, there's always going to be a kick. Then we can go in and do all the intricate little percussion that you hear in the background with these kind of tracks. But yeah, I got this open hi-hat. I'm going to shorten it a bit. Yeah, usually I find with this style shorter hi-hats. And then we're just going to high pass it so we just get the high end. And then I have this other layer here, the second one. And so now you can hear we have like a really fat, full sounding hi-hat. And I think I'm actually going to high pass that one a little bit less. But yeah, because this on its own, it's good, but it just doesn't have enough like the punch to it. So we add that in, and there you go. And then we can just put that on the upbeats. And there we go, and I'm even going to shorten this a little. And there we go, and that's going to also help with the mix a little too, because like if we have these super big hi-hats, it's like you can hear how that's kind of like getting in the way of the bass line a little, but if we have a shorter one, it's going to fit into this overall thing a lot easier. And let's also saturate that a little bit. I feel like 3 dB of saturation is like the magical number. Alright, cool. From there, I'm going to get a clap. We've got this one in the sample pack. And that's just going to go on the 2 and 4. Let's turn the stabs back on too. So you can see how it's starting to come together now. Cool, so now we have like these main things. I'm going to start adding in some more hi-hats. I have a few different ones here. I'm just going to play around with these and kind of like just add them in a few different places. I'm gonna add a little bit of this one. And usually, like, in Djoko tracks, and really, like, this style of this sort of, like, deep, minimal stuff in general, it tends to be pretty busy, so you can get away with a lot, because keep in mind, like, the percussion and the bass and sort of, like, the rhythm section, I'm just making everything 8 bars here, but the percussion and the bass and the rhythm section, to me, are kind of like the lead here. Like, the chord stabs are kind of like background percussion, you know, so we have a lot of room to add quite a bit with these, but it's just a matter of like building it up kind of slowly like this and getting it all together over time. That's cool. Maybe we'll make this a little bit. A little bit different there. Alright, that's cool. And then I have a tambourine here. I think I'm going to layer that together with this other hi-hat, because we have like this one, which I think I'm going to take that and layer it with the tambourine, and then we'll get like a just like a really solid like kind of shaker sound in there. Give it a little bit of swing. I think I'm going to try making this just go brrr. Make it like kind of ring out a little longer. Alright, that's cool. And then let's work with these chord stabs a little bit more too. Like this one, I'm going to cut out some low end. And I think I'll also put like a really fast echo on it. Like what we can do is unsync this. And let's saturate this one a bit. Maybe like not too much. Just a little. Make it a bit fatter. Give it a little bit of echo as well. Alright, there we go. That chord stab sounds cool. Let's put some saturation on this one too. And I think actually on this one we'll use drum bus. Some of that spicy drum bus. Yeah, that sounds good. Alright, sounds nice. Let's get the hi-hats all in a group together. And I'll put a bit of saturation on that. And cool, so this is something I've been doing recently is usually like, you know, if you guys have seen in the past, a lot of times like people will say, and I've said, to put just like the percussion and hi-hats in a group and process those all together. But I think if you put the hi-hats in a group and then once I have more percussion in here, we'll put just the percussion in a group. I think doing it that way can make things a little bit more like smoother, because this way I can process these. And like if I want to EQ them, for example, you know, I can just high pass these a bunch and really clean them up. But then, like, if I was doing the percussion, we would need to keep, like, all of this stuff in there. And it wouldn't, like, you wouldn't be able to do as much. But cool, let's get more percussion. I have a bunch of percussion in this sample pack here. And I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to just get a drum rack. And we can put all these in here. I say this a lot, but I like not using drum racks, like, for your whole drums. Like, I wouldn't put all of this stuff into a drum rack and just use that. That would be kind of weird. But when you work with it this way, like if you just have all these percussion sounds, honestly, it's kind of an easy way to just like have them all in one place, you know? So I'll make like a little loop with these. right, cool. So it's coming together. So you can see, like, the attention to detail is, like, I'm not just, like, putting stuff in. Like, I'm really trying to make sure everything fits perfectly with every other element. And, like, nothing's fighting for the same space. Everything is, like, working in a very cohesive and sort of together way. It's, like, I think I talked about this in yesterday's video, but I try to think of it of, like, as, like, everything kind of dancing off of each other, you know? It's, like, they're not all just playing together. They're, like, kind of happening together, if that makes any sense. So let's switch this around a little bit in the second half here. And again, you see why it's, like, so easy to work with it in a drum rack now, because it's, like, yeah, you can see the whole percussion loop starts to come together. Now, what I am going to do is I'm actually going to take this percussion 1 out of there, and we're just going to put that on its own separate track, because I think it's a little bit too quiet to fit into this. Like, where I have to turn that up in the mix, I can't really do with having it in the drum rack, otherwise it would start clipping. So we'll just take that, and then I can just get percussion 1. And now we can turn it up without clipping the whole drum rack. Alright, sounding cool. Let's turn everything down just a little. Alright, not bad for like 22 minutes here. Alright, cool. So now it's time to start arranging the tracks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything, we're going to cut it, and we'll paste it on bar 65. Cool, and then what we're going to do to start the track here is I'm going to just grab the kick, which is here. There we go, and then we can get some of the drums, like, maybe I'll take the MIDI from this one, but put it on one of these. No, that's just... Yeah, and then we can have the second one come on, like, after a certain point. We can automate that to come on, like, let's say it'll come in on bar 49. Because that'll be, like, our first little break. And then we start with just the darker one. And then let's also get, like, a clap. And we'll get some of the percussion, too. Maybe like these hi-hats. And then I'll also grab the bass line at the start, but it's going to start kind of filtered up. Like, let's get a high-pass filter on the low-end group here. We're going to start like that. And then at bar 17 is where it'll drop down. Alright, then we keep that stuff going through there. Cool, and then we can start bringing in some of this other, like, these hi-hats. Like, maybe these hi-hats will come in at bar 17. And maybe at bar 17 we could also bring in the... Yeah, let's save that for bar 17. And then at bar 16, or at bar 33, we'll bring in that new percussion. We'll also do a little high pass before that. maybe some of these chord stabs will start coming in there too. Yeah, I like that delay a little bit more. It's offbeat, but it sounds cool. So now you can see we've like nicely built the energy up here. You know, it starts here. Then it goes there. And then it's going there. And then for this next part, so what I'm going to do in the next part is we're going to duplicate over everything except for the kick. We'll grab the bass line. And then we're going to have everything, like all this stuff, or really just the bass, I should say, be high pass. And then here we'll bring in this chord stab. Oh, and then we also have to go in here and automate that hi-hat to come back on. See, it kind of gives it something new there. Yeah, and then we'll do like a little transition there where the stuff just kind of starts going out a little bit. And then we come back in really strong with everything there. Cool. So now we have a bit of an arrangement. You can see, yeah, I'm just duplicating that over. We're going to do some more stuff, like arrangement stuff inside of this part. Like we'll do a filtered part with the kick and bass. And I think I'm going to automate the chord stabs a little bit too. But cool, so you can see the structure comes together pretty quickly when you follow this way. You know, it's like we're just kind of, you know, building it up in the intro. Like, not really that hard to do, just kind of have different things come in and out at different times. And then it kind of drops out a little bit here. And then just come back strong for the main sort of drop. Cool. Now, I'm going to add one sound in the intro here that's going to kind of go throughout the track. We're going to make a pad sound. So I'm actually going to put this up top here with these chord stabs. I try to, like, organize my project files a little bit. If you notice, like, I always put, like, the synths up top. Then we got, like, the bass and drums in the middle. And then usually I put the effects along the bottom. It tends to just make things, like, a little bit easier to work with this way versus, like, if you just have everything all over the place. But cool. For this, I'm going to get analog. Let's just make, like, a long, held out A minor. We'll do like an A minor 9. And then this isn't just going to be like, you know, super loud in the mix. What I'm going to do is we're going to filter it a bit. And this will be just kind of like a smooth, nice background pad. Give it some unison, a bit of vibrato. And we'll set the voices as well. Right now, it can only play 8 notes at a time, so we got to turn it up to 32. And then we get every note. And then we're also going to high pass this a bit. And we're going to put an LFO on the filter cutoff to move it. some chorus and reverb. Nice, and then what we'll do is we'll just start it super low. So I'm gonna just have this play like all the way through here, and then maybe it'll come back here. So we can just have it building and building and building. And then it'll kind of start going down in the break. Now I'm also going to sidechain this to the kick because I think it needs a bit of that. Or maybe what I'll even do is this. We can put an auto pan on here. And I have this set up as my default preset for auto pan. That's why it does this. But you can see the way I have this set up is we have it on a saw wave and it's inverted. And then I have it on quarter notes. So it's like doing that sort of like quarter note pulse, very similar to how it would if it was sidechained to the kick. And then I have the phase all the way down to 0. So it's not affecting the stereo width. It's just affecting the volume essentially of the mono signal. But this works really well with a song like this because if you listen to this without any kind of side chaining, it's very big, almost a little bit too big. But if we put something like this on it, it'll fit into the mix a little bit more. And then when we get to the break, it'll keep doing the same thing to keep it like kind of more subdued like that. I'll just kind of be going out through here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm also going to like just tease these a little bit in the intro. You know, just something like this so that there's at least something happening around that pad. And it's not like just the held out chord. So that's really good because you can hear like when it opens up like that, it really sounds nice in the back of the track. I'm also going to put a bit of saturation on this to make it a bit more like full and just kind of bigger. While we're at it, let's put some drum bass on this percussion too. Cool, let's do a little bit of automation on this layer, this little chord stab. Like, not a whole lot, but I just like to have it kind of like moving throughout the track like this. And a cool technique that I'll do is this. Like, once we have a little bit of automation, let's actually make this go a little higher. We can just duplicate it like this because like nobody's going to notice and be like, oh yeah, you know, they use the exact same automation curve. It just kind of feels like it's like moving. And it's a lot more alive this way. And And we can even do this on this one too with the low pass. Like I'll just start doing it here. Like not a whole lot, you know, you don't want it to go too crazy. But just a little bit of something. And then we can start drawing some in over here. And this is why I like using synths instead of sampling these little chord stabs too. Like a lot of times people will sample them from other records. But I like doing it this way because you can't really get this with the sample. I guess you could put a low pass filter on it or something. But you don't really get like that very like alive kind of sound like you can get with this. Awesome. Now for the next thing here, I'm going to add one more sort of like a, not like a synth, but just something. I'm going to actually grab a string. I'm going to get one of my own samples from one of my videos. Let's actually use this one from the other day. This is going to be included, of course, with all the project file and samples and MIDI and presets with this video that you get in the description. But I'm going to use this just to kind of act like a throughout these parts. So what I'm going to do here is I turn on the loop. And we're going to turn up this fade. So what the fade does is it makes it so that it'll like smoothly loop. Because if you don't do that, like if we just make this shorter, I'll show you. Here you get that. We're trying to avoid that. So we're going to turn up the fade. And then the secret to the fade is you have to turn the length and the start time up. Because you can see once we start doing that. Now we get the endless loop. So yeah, I'm going to just take that. We'll high pass it a little. And I'm just going to use this during the break a bit. Maybe we could have it kind of like through here. And then we'll get a utility to do a volume automation. Just to kind of bring this in. I prefer using utility for volume automations because if you use like the track volume over here, what happens is like, watch what happens if I automate this. So say I automate that and then later I want to turn this track down or like I want to turn everything down all at once. See how it messes up the automation there? So it's just easier to do it this way where you just get a utility and then automate that and then, you know, it's a lot smoother. Let's put reverb on that. Yeah, there we go. That's that last little piece of atmosphere that we needed. Maybe I'll have it go down in here. Compared to yeah, let's do it like this. This is a little smoother. So this is stuff to notice because it's like it may just seem like a small detail, like just this little like string in the background, but you can see like if you just have it cut out there, it's not really gonna sound that smooth. So you have to like do little stuff like this that you may not always notice when you're hearing the track, but this is gonna give it life, and this is what's gonna really like, you know, make it be more full like this. Well, awesome. This is sounding good. I think at this stage we just need a few effects. So what I'm gonna get first is I'm gonna get a crash. I'm gonna get one of my own, and again, all this will be included with the sample pack and project file with this video. Yeah, let's take that one. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just take that and put it in a few places. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it really short. Like, it's just going to go like that. Just a quick psh. This is something I've noticed in a lot of these kind of like more funky, groovy, sort of deep minimal tracks. Where you just do like that. And it has something like very catchy to it. It won't make this one like the full length though. We could do like this, have like a pattern where they're alternating. I think that's good. You get that like let's put a little reverb on that as well. Nice one. And then the only other effect that we need, like I said, I'm going to put all the effects along the bottom. The only other effect we need is I am going to make a little bit of a white noise sweep here, like going into this main part. Like it's literally just going to exist for this little 2-bar period. But we're just going to do like a little to kind of carry us into there. Some white noise and a band pass. And then we'll automate the band pass. We'll also get a high pass because the band pass is going to have some like frequencies in there that we need to cut out. There we go. And that's the secret to using these in the style. It's like it can be very effective if used right, but you have to be very sparse. I wouldn't use this more than like 1 or 2 times per track. And really like you wouldn't want to have like a long one. Like I wouldn't want to have it be like that length, you know. I think that would be a little bit weird. But if you just have this little, it's kind of a nice touch, you know. Now let me just kind of like perfect this. Get it a little higher, and then I'll also put some reverb on it. All right, let's do a little bit of automation on the pad in this part. And I'm going to name everything too. Then we'll name this one hi-hats, percussion, and then we'll name this one sweep. And there we go. Yeah, I've been trying to get better about organizing project files. I think it does really help if you name stuff. It makes it feel a little bit less like mechanical and a little bit more like fluid and natural, if that makes any sense. I feel like, because it's like, okay, if you have this stuff, like if these 3 are all just called like operator, and analog, then it's like kind of feels like you're working on synths. But if it's just called stab 1, stab 2, and stab 3, it kind of feels a little bit more like you're, you know, working with something. It's hard to explain, but it just feels a little bit more comfortable this way. Cool, nice one. So at this stage, it's time for mastering on the track. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the loudest part, which should be about here. I'm going to check how much louder that really is. cool. And then we're going to turn everything down just a little bit. Just doing sort of like the final mix down here. We're trying to get it hitting between -5 and -6 usually is what I aim for on this number right here where my cursor is. Checking on the monitors. Alright, there we go. So just making sure the low end works really well. Again, I like to check in on both the monitors and the headphones because it's just a little bit easier to hear certain things on the monitors, and it's also easier to hear certain other things on the headphones. And it's like, I feel like if you just work on one thing, you really only know what it sounds like on that one thing, versus if you work on multiple things or if you test it on multiple things, you know what it sounds like across the board, like universally. Alright, cool. So we're going to turn everything up just a little tiny bit. And perfect. Now we're hitting right between -5 and -6. Cool. So time for mastering. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to get an EQ8. We're going to boost the high end. We're going to boost the low end. And then we're going to turn the gain down a little. So here is without this. And then with it. You can hear it's really subtle. What it's doing is it's focusing the track. We're taking the two parts that you really want to be like the loudest with house music would be like the high end and the low end, because you need the power and the groove in the low end and then the sharpness in the high end. And we're just bringing those out a little bit more. And then the turning the gain down there is just because sometimes it can tend to get a little bit too loud. Like if you have it up, this does make things a little bit louder, so I'm just trying to keep the gain kind of even so we still have some headroom. From there, we're going to get a saturator, and I'm going to turn the drive up to +3, and then we'll put the output down -1. Same deal as with the output on the EQ, just kind of keeping the gain even. Here's without this. And then with it. You can hear what this does. Of course, it does make the track a little bit louder. Let's actually put the output down to -2. But this is gluing everything together a lot. It's just like how we used a bit of saturation on like the low end bus here, you know? When you glue it together like this with saturation, everything just comes together and sounds a lot more cohesive. Again, without it. And then with it, like everything just feels like it's on a more even sort of playing field. From there, we're going to get a little bit of compression, and we're going to turn off the makeup gain, and we're going to turn up the attack so that we aren't messing up any of the transients on our sounds. And then we're going to just turn the threshold down a bit. Not a whole lot, but just like that should be good. Alright, so here's without this. And then with it. So you can hear this is a really subtle compression. You know, we're not flattening the mix out. We're not doing too much in that regard. We're just kind of like evening everything out a little bit. You know, that's what compression does. It takes the things that you put into it and kind of like evens them. And if you do too much, then you can flatten it. But like this, it's still keeping the sounds intact. Again, it's just kind of bringing like the body of the sounds a little bit closer together. And I'm also going to turn the ratio down a little, which is just going to be like the amount of compression. Perfect. From there, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a limiter, and we're going to use this for a gain boost. We're going to turn the gain up until we're hitting about 0 dB like that, and then we're going to push it even more. There we go. So what this is doing is it's giving us the gain boost to get that gain level that we need, so it's hitting 0. And then we're pushing it a little bit after that. And the reason why we do this, it might seem a little bit odd, and I'm sure that there are people that are watching this video that will probably be thinking, like, why would you ever use this much? But, again, what it's doing is it's pushing it like a little bit past 0 dB while still keeping it from clipping. So this is really just to honestly get it on the level of like other tracks in the style. Like if you compare this to a reference track from Djoko, you would find like if you get this project file yourself, again, link is in the description, and you try just turning the gain up so that it hits 0, it just doesn't hit quite enough to like that professional level. But then when you push it a little bit past that, like we have 6.5 dB of gain being added, that's how you really get it to hit like the way these professional tracks do. It's like it's more just one of those things of like getting it to the standard of what everybody, I guess, considers loud enough, quote unquote, than it is like, trying to like destroy the dynamics or anything like that. You can hear it doesn't mess up the dynamics. It's just kind of pushing everything together a little bit more. But again, like if you compare this to reference tracks, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. This is just kind of like, I guess, how tracks are mastered now, and what you have to do to get that professional quality standard. But cool, so there it is. We went from nothing and created this really cool track in the style. That's me for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Let's listen to the whole track from start to finish. Turn off the loop. Awesome. So, thank you very much, everybody. That is me for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI and presets. Everything that I just created in this video, as well as all the samples you saw me working with, it's available in the description. So definitely go check for that. It's right at the top of the description. Can't miss it. If you want to support me, it's a great way to do that. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.